Mayor's proposal for the city's finances in the coming year, Chicago currently faces a budget shortfall of $1 billion.
And sources tell ABC7 that the mayor's plan to close that gap will include raising property taxes. Let's listen in.
With Renew Chicago and Park Community Church and Chicago Sunday Evening Club, I'm delighted to be here. Please know that every day, Monday through Saturday at noontime, we have a Zoom call. We pray for the city, and you all are being prayed for regularly. So let's pray. Father, this is a big day for the city. A budget address is a reflection of our values. So we are grateful for the work of the mayor and his team that have put together the budget. I ask for an anointing of him from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet, that he will present boldly and he will present clearly the direction that they would like to take the city. We ask for a spirit of wisdom and discernment for the council, that they may be fully engaged, and that please just control their minds, bend their wills to your purposes and to your glory and for the good of our people and for the callings that they have taken to build a good and great city. Father, we're mindful next week we have another important week in our nation's history, that a spirit of tranquility will rule. We may not know, but it certainly is within your control. So you know the man or the woman that you have in store to be our next president. So regardless, let's have it a spirit of peace, and just remind ourselves the truth about this country, and we respond with gratitude. And as we move into November, our lives should be marked with gratitude. And whether we call our providence, whether we call him Messiah or Allah or Yahweh or those whose faith is known to you alone, Lord, we just ask for grateful hearts. And for those of us who follow Jesus, we should be especially reminded, because we know that you did a work that we could not have done ourselves, and our only response can be gratitude. On all these things we pray, amen.
Amen. Please, you may be seated. This is the portion of the meeting for public comments. Mr. Clerk.
The council will now begin the public comment period, which is limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Speakers cannot yield or transfer their time to another speaker. Any written comments that have been submitted will be posted and made available for automatic review. Our first speaker today is Mona Michalis.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Are you ready?
Please, you may commence.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I am sure you would agree with the statement. To deny an individual of their First Amendment right would be a violation of fundamental public policy. My job as a citizen is to bring to you the problem, and as a governmental body, it is your job to solve it. My concern is this. Scientology has what is called safe pointing. They have been doing this for decades.
What you're listening to right now is the public comment period at the City Council meeting where Mayor Brandon Johnson is expected to deliver his budget address and has been rumored to be delivering news of a proposed property tax hike in the city of Chicago.
We are going to rejoin once the mayor starts presenting his proposed budget.
This has been an ABC7 Eyewitness News special report.
They don't want their horrors exposed. This is P. Diddy, Epstein, and Nassar on steroids. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is behind the scenes. A 12-year-old is counseling a grown man. This is standard procedure. These words are spoken to the grown man locked in a room with a child, and I quote, "While we cannot guarantee you that the matters revealed in this list will be held forever secret, we can promise you faithfully that no part of what your answer is will be given to the police or to the state. No Scientologist will ever bear witness against you in court. Here's some actual questions." And as I said, I quote, I just lost my paper, sorry. "Have you committed a crime? How, when, where? Give details. Have you ever done anything you don't want me to know? Have you masturbated? Have you smothered a baby? I know those are cringeworthy, I'm sorry. Sadly, a child must know what these words mean, and they have to define, explain, and show what the words mean during their training, even like the masturbation. All sessions are audio and video recorded. I'm asking you, please question your relationship or your loyalty to this abusing, family-destroying cult. Saying that being in a cult for adults is perfectly legal, and it is a choice, but kids cannot consent. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Jody Wiedeker.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, we can.
Good morning, Mayor Johnson and Chicago City Council. My name is Jody Whitaker, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Chicago Alliance for Animals, more than 3,000 members. But I am also speaking for millions of people who want to end the brutal suffering of beautiful, wild, fur-bearing animals and stave off the dangers of confining thousands of animals to tight, contaminated spaces where viruses can thrive. I'm going to read a few quotes from a May 2022 New York Times article titled "The Michigan Mink Mystery: How did an interspecies outbreak unfold?" In late September of 2020, captive mink on a farm in Michigan suddenly fell ill. They stopped eating, struggled to breathe, and bled from the nose, according to a report from the World Organization for Animal Health. 2,000 animals died. Laboratory testing soon confirmed that the mink were infected with the coronavirus. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention dispatched a team of outbreak investigators who collaborated with other agencies to swab mink, farm workers, and a menagerie of other animals from rats to raccoons to determine how the virus had spread. "We tried to leave no stone unturned," said Dr. Casey Barton-Verhabrush, who directs the CDC's One Health Office. Last month, the CDC confirmed that 4 Michigan residents, including 2 farm employees, had been infected with the same unique coronavirus variant that was found in the mink. Since the early days of the pandemic, when the coronavirus tore through fur farms, scientists have worried that mink might become a long-term reservoir for the virus and a potential source of new variants. To date, coronavirus infections have been detected in mink on 18 American farms, the most recent in Wisconsin in February. Even as Congress considers a ban on mink farming, there is still no national system for proactive surveillance on mink farms, which are not required to report cases to federal authorities. And officials have not released much information about the outbreak investigations they have concluded. Some of those details are reported here for the first time. Together, the secrecy and spotty surveillance make it difficult to determine how much of a risk mink farms pose, scientists say, and it threatens to leave experts blind to the emergence of worrisome new variants that could spill back into humans, extending the pandemic. As you just heard, these risks are very real, and we're seeing disturbing trends in our neighboring states of Michigan and Wisconsin. So thank you to the 21 co-sponsors who support O2023-2983. Thank you all for your time and consideration, and I hope you will all work together to pass this common sense measure as soon as possible so our great city can play a part in preventing future pandemics. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Johnny Mohammed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Johnny J.C. Muhammad, and I am grateful, happy, and humble to be given the opportunity to speak at this morning's City Council hearing. The mayor and the City Council has a serious and sacred responsibility to manage the finances of this city. But when we look back at the city's current financial predicament, it has become all too apparent that over the decades, individuals occupying these positions have not respected this responsibility in a manner that provides this city with the fiscal health that it requires for its residents. The city's greatest resources are its residents, and managing our resources in a way that invests in individuals, families, and communities will inevitably contribute to the long-term physical health of this city. But in order to do that, you, our public officials, must not be too reluctant, too hesitant, or too timid to tax the rich and the wealthy of this city. We need bold, courageous leadership that will defend the interest of struggling, poor, and working class people of the city of Chicago. We need expanded mental health services. We must have concrete and comprehensive solutions for our homeless population, and our youth programs and services should be of the highest priority because our young people represent the future promise of this city. We need a budget that creates millions of jobs and increase wages for those who continue to be on the sidelines of the Chicago economy. We need a city budget that invests in our public schools and our underserved communities in a manner that ends the systemic inequality in our tax system by making corporations pay their fair share and makes this city once again safe, decent, and affordable place to live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Christiana Powell.
Good morning. Should I wait until the mayor comes back? Because my address is to him. So please stop. Thank you for stopping that clock.
You can continue your comments, please.
That is not fair. The clock should be stopped, put back at 3 minutes. The mayor, the head of this council, the leader of this city that I have come to address has stepped off for whatever reason. For whatever reason. And that in this I'm being disrespected as a resident and a citizen of the city of Chicago who pays taxes and votes. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. Because I will not be disrespected.
You, as pro tem, I can listen to your public comment. Thank you.
Please continue with your public comments. Thank you.
Where's the mayor? Where is the head? The body cannot receive anything unless it first comes from the head and flows down. The body does not tell the head what to do. And if the head is not present, then the body will become discombobulated in its choices, its decisions, and in its standing. So, Mayor Johnson, I voted for you. Please respect my vote. I will respect this council, even though I am being disrespected. I don't, trust me, the God I serve is guiding me right now. Therefore, I stand on what he tells me to do, which is stand still.
All right, stand still.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Will Tasman. Our next speaker is Will Tansman.
Would you like to go to the next speaker? Let's go to the next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is George Blakemore. Our next speaker is George Blakemore.
I got a question. I have a question. How much is going to be done without the head leading them?
Point of order. Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. Why is the Sergeant at Arms hand on the microphone while Mr. Blakemore is trying to speak?
I'm not sure, Alderman
Where's
Lopez.
the mayor? What? You
Give me
heard
1 second, please.
Get away from me. Go, get away. Get away from me. I came to speak to the mayor.
Do they know it's his turn?
I came to speak to the mayor. Let me.
Can we please turn the mic on for Mr. Blakemore up there?
Police! Call the police! George, just relax.
Can we please have order upstairs? We're trying to get the mic on for Mr. Blakemore. Okay. Let's go to the next speaker, please, and then we'll go back to Mr. Blakemore. He seems to be not
Our
going
next
to the
speaker
microphone.
is Mary Baggett.
No, you can't take away my damn minutes. No, I'm supposed to speak. Get away from me. Get away from me.
Our next speaker is Mary Baggett.
You're going to have to take a time out. You're going to have to give me a second here. I'm trying. I understand. If you guys could just bear with us for 1 second, it looks like they're trying to restore order up there to ensure that all the people that are signed up to speak can speak. Just bear with us for one moment. Hey, Mary, get on the phone. Mary Baggett, is she? Now what do we do? Now what do we do? What do we do now? Let's take a 10-minute recess while we work out the technical issues upstairs.
to be here and listen. And we're not going to only beat up on the men. All right, thank you. You checking it. All right, thank you now. Go Red.
All right, the meeting will come back to order. Meeting will come back to order. Mr. Clerk will pick up where we left off in public comments before I took a moment.
Our next speaker this morning is
Just a
Will
second, Mr. Clerk.
Hansman.
This meeting will come back to order, please. Alders, could you please return to your spots? The public that is here witnessing today, could you please return to your seats? This meeting will come back to order. Mr. Clerk.
Our next speaker this morning is Will Hansman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Will Tansman. I serve as Executive Director of the People's Lobby, a grassroots organization with members across the Chicago region who fight together for racial, economic, and environmental justice. For decades, our previous city leaders gave tax breaks to corporations and the wealthy, invested in downtown, while taking money out of schools and social services and low-income and working-class neighborhoods. We see the results in our underfunded schools, encampments of homeless people, struggling public transit system, and more. And this doesn't make people or businesses want to move to or stay in our great city. We are grateful to the mayor and the city council for taking some initial steps to reverse this inequity. We appreciate Mayor Johnson's work to reopen mental health clinics, invest in affordable housing, and push for more funding for schools. As federal COVID relief dollars run out, I know this is going to be a challenging budget. But our city needs to invest more rather than less and build on the progress that has begun. We need to reject cuts to essential public services and identify new revenue sources that are as progressive as possible given the limits of the city's revenue-raising powers. Some options include pushing the huge elite universities with multi-billion-dollar endowments to agree to payments in lieu of taxes, establishing a fee on vacant properties, increasing hotel taxes, increasing taxes on airplane fuel, reestablishing a corporate head tax, and taking money from TIFs. And if we need to raise other taxes, I'd rather pay a bit more for the public services we need than to see further cuts devastate our city services. And we need to fight for longer-term progressive revenue sources that may require action by other levels of government. We want to see the city expand funding for affordable housing, schools, mental health clinics, shelters for both new arrivals and long-term homeless people, non-police public safety solutions, enforcement of workers' rights, public funding of elections, green infrastructure, and more. Only by investing in Chicago can our incredible city follow through on its promise and potential to be a city for all of its residents, a city that prioritizes poor and working people and not just the rich and powerful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker this morning is George Blakemore.
Honorable Mayor Brandon Johnson, I would like to, I know you got a heavy load with the Honorable Mayor Brandon Johnson. Before, when you left, perhaps it was an emergency and you did leave when someone was speaking. Now we're glad to see you are back. I'm asking you, will you allow the young lady to speak? She came specifically to address some issues with you. So could you do that? Anyway, the big picture here is a one-party system. They're all Democrats. All Democrats. And it is a corrupt machine here. It just didn't come here with Brandon Johnson. It's been here. These budgets never been balanced. Now, you want to beat up on him? Mayor Daley get all that money when he sold out the streets. Get all that money. Only thing, we just have a new overseer. But just go, with that Democratic machine, it just go from one hog pen to another. It's time for us to change this. Good citizens, change it. Go red. Go red. Go red. Well, did you know Trump's a racist? Well, both of those political parties are racist. So what we got, I'm leaving one plantation on my way to another plantation, but my ultimate aim is to be a free black man in America. I want my people to open up banks and have economic development. I want them to have excellent schools. We cannot depend on these political hacks, especially these Democrats. Go red! Go red! Go red! Now, Honorable Brandon Johnson, will you do this? Let the lady come back because she thinks so much of you. She came down to address you. And I'm sure that it had to be an emergency for you to leave. You just wouldn't walk away from a citizen. No, you wouldn't. He wouldn't. She voted for you. So I know good well that it had to be an emergency. But now you back, and you now are the head. You running this plantation now. Call her back. Call her back. Thank you. Come back, young lady. Come back to speak. Oh, come back, young lady. Okay, no, I'm for the people. Come back, young lady. Come back, young lady. All right, thank you. Come back, young lady.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker
Just a second,
is
Mr. Clerk. Before we, let's proceed with the names in order. And for the young woman who wanted to speak to me directly, we'll give some consideration to that. But let's continue on, okay?
Our next speaker is Mary Baggett.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm coming to this microphone because I want to address Walter Burnett for being disrespectful to our leadership. Basically telling her she don't oversee the surrounding area. She's a president that sits on our local advisory council / CAC board. And she is the president of that surrounding area. And for you to tell her she don't oversee the area, she just only oversee Horner, that's disrespectful. Horner sits through that development from Washington to Randolph to Madison and anything else in that area. You need to learn how to respect the people. And not only that, that $7 billion project that's coming and y'all want CHA land, she's the president of that. And the only way it could get addressed or approved, they got to come to us first. We are a board of 14. So when you say she don't run nothing, you're wrong. You need to learn how to be respectful to the people. And also this contract steering, y'all need to stop that too. Stopping people from working in your ward, black contractors, all of that. You need to stop it in the 27th ward. You're very disrespectful and it needs to end. Your vote come from us as people. Y'all look to these other nationalities like they the only ones out here. But us as blacks put votes in too. So respect us, Walter Burnett. And I'm saying that loud and clear so you can hear me. I'm not done with you. I'm coming for you. And that's it and that's all. So I'm done with that and that Mayor Brandon Johnson. I am a 30-year city employee whom retired June of 2022. You all did not pay us for COVID. You all did not pay us our retro pay when we retired. They had the audacity to say July 1st was when the contract was signed and that we didn't qualify for COVID pay. But y'all let somebody come in, got hired within 6 months, received COVID pay, received retro pay, all of that. I took sick during that time with COVID, and also I worked hard for 30 years for the city. I fought with the union, Local 1001. I deserve my retro pay, and I deserve my COVID pay. I got sick during that time, and it's many of us that are retired that took sick and did not receive our pay. You need to look into that. A lot of these people that denied us, they all got these deals under the table with positions to stop us from receiving our pay as retirees. We want our pay.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Janet M. C.A.
Thank you, City Council. I have a poem called Wake Up, Open Our Eyes and Ears. I can remember when I was a little girl and I felt safe in my neighborhood place. I never thought about being shot at, child trafficked. We didn't worry about stuff like that. I remember as kids we had a healthy fear of those in authority. We had community uniformity. All the kids understood that when the street lights came on, racing home was the norm. Most of us had a mom and dad at home. We rode bikes and played outside before computers and cell phones. Wake up, open our eyes and ears. Are our eyes and ears closed to the devastation and evil that's being exposed? The hopelessness, the foolishness, our youth running and gunning, dreams being snuffed out in senseless violence, and many leaders who we trusted respond in silence. Parents' hearts are aching, losing their children senselessly to other children misbehaving, dreams being snuffed out. Wake up, open our eyes and ears. Everyone with our skin ain't our friend. I'm not saying we should deny who we are as a people, but blind faith in man has been lethal. We need to see the truth, and in it we'll find the proof. It's like we believe everything some leaders say, believe what they do. That's where their real fruit would be on display. There are those who say that we as a people can't succeed in this country. Putting it bluntly, I believe some of them think we're stupid. We are told how oppressed and suppressed, and we'll always be excluded. What's not said is that we are descendants of people who suffered, endured, and persevered. We are strong people who are resilient, innovative, brilliant. Wake up, open your eyes and ears. We have multitudes of successful black men and women, families who have worked hard and succeeded in the face of the race card. All this racism rhetoric is wearing thin. There will always be racist people. God calls this sin. Families and communities are unhealthy. Morality in our pockets are running on empty. We have what's full is our caskets and jails. Why do we keep trusting government to get us out of this hell? Wake up, open our eyes and ears. How did we get here? Has trying to remove God from society worked for us? Maybe we need to return to a godly fear. Some in power have been blinded by evil and lost their way, and the cost has been more than we citizens want to pay. What do we have to lose? Maybe it's time we put God first. If not, we have not seen the worst. I long for those days when children playing outside safely was not an illusion. When education, working hard, and perseverance was our economic solution. Wake up, open our eyes and ears to this evil stuff. Citizens, when are we going to say, enough is enough? Praise him.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Tuwalu Stewart.
Hello, Mayor Johnson. I have one thing I want to say to you. How you doing, Mayor Johnson? My name is Suwani, and I want to know, why did you give all the migrants all the fun when people out here suffering with their kids, homeless, like me? I am disabled. I cannot pay my rent. The landlord is trying to evict me out of my house with my kids. I've been calling down here telling complaints about what's going on in my building. People been getting stabbed, everything in my building. I have 2 disabled kids, and I'm very struggling paying my rent. And I've been making complaints about the building. All I get, closed, case is closed, case is closed. I can't get no help to get out the building. I've been talking to Jeanette Taylor about what's going on in the building. I cannot get no help to get out that building with my kids. I'm living around drugs head, crack heads with my kids, and I have 2 disabled kids. I don't understand you. Then you gave the migrants all their funds, and they walk around up and down King Drive selling stuff when other people need stuff too. I don't understand you. You gave them that funds. They over there selling drugs and everything over there on King Drive. They over there stealing out the stores and everything. Stealing out stores that we need in the community. You sitting up and gave them migrants all that fun with people sleeping on the streets. You wrong for that. You need some help.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Sister Sakaya S. Mohammed.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. I would just like to say good afternoon, I think it is, to
Good morning.
Mr. Mayor, my brother, and to the City Council family and the media down there. I want to get right to the point because I want to direct my first concern to the Committee on Special Events, Cultural Affairs, and Recreation. We have a big problem at Ellis Park Fieldhouse on 35th and Cottage Grove, which is in my community that I have lived in for 40 years. Very beautiful facility, but we're going into our 7th week, and we do not have an instructor for a chair exercise for our seniors, or chair aerobics for our seniors, or line dancing for our seniors. Here's the biggest problem. There is not an attendant to come in and mop up puddles of water in the women's locker room when we come out of the pool from water aerobics that I take 3 times a week. Now, you know that's a suit. Park District need to look at that very careful. There is one in the evening, and she wants more hours. Why you can't give her those hours during the daytime when us 70 and 80-year-old seniors have to hop around in puddles of water in the ladies' locker room? That is a concern that it's really bothering me. The second thing is the Healthy Home Ordinance. Please, Mr. Mayor, I want you and all the people that have signed on to it to discuss the need for the rental inspectors program that all residents need. This is an ordinance that will allow inspectors to come in every 3 years and inspect these apartments so it won't be any problems. Our residents will not have to complain all the time. If the aldermen that are not passing or not supporting this bill, they should consider supporting this ordinance. It's very necessary, very, very necessary. So think about it. It is the Chicago Healthy Home Program. Please, those aldermen that are not supporting it, please think about putting your heads together because we got new housing that's coming up, and we want to keep new housing together, and we want the tenants and residents to be happy in their homes without any problems. Thank you, my brother. May Allah continue to bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
So leave from the body to allow Ms. Christiana Powell to give her public comment so that she can give it directly to me. Ms. Christina Powell, you have 3 minutes. Christiana.
Grand rising to everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson, the mayor that I voted for giving me this opportunity to address you, the head of this body, directly. My name is Christiana Powell, and yeah, I got something to say. We can talk about problems all day long, but we got to get to the solutions. And I'm here to tell you, definitely, there's an open secret taking place in this city. Any area that has been labeled gentrified, that's an open secret. What that word means is you pick out your property and come and get it. But it seems like they only coming after what is owned by black folks on the south side of Chicago, in Woodlawn and in South Shore. So now, if you all want to look at me and say, okay, she done joined the group or whatever, let me take you back to August the 16th, when 30 Cook County Sheriff's officers was kicking in my door, 64 years old, a veteran of the United States Army, okay, kicking in my door to steal my property because the bank committed fraud. I fought them for 7 years, and for the last 2 years, I've had to be a pro se litigant, which means, for those who don't understand, I had to study federal law and I had to study state law because I had to go in and fight myself because I couldn't get no help. They're stealing, not they. You all are allowing it to happen because it's an open secret. You know what's going on. They're stealing the property that is generational wealth, inheritance, and legacy of black people. My family owned that property since 1950. They want to say that I went into foreclosure because I couldn't pay my mortgage. I need to show you my bank statement. I could have paid my mortgage for the next 3 years and never put another dime in the bank. I am a black woman who ain't broke. But they want to think we all are. And I'm here to tell you, thus say the Lord of hosts, I miss nothing. I sleep and I do not slumber. Touch not my anointing, do no harm to my prophet. And you've done that to both of them, to my anointed prophet. You put your hands on me. You put your hands on my promised land. You allowed them to steal it. Now you got to answer to God. And he is somebody that you don't want to deal with because he knows what has been taking place. What you've done in the dark is now going to come to the light. I am here to inform you. I am on assignment. You will be exposed if you so much as compromised your spiritual beliefs.
Thank you very much for your comments. Your Honor, there are no further speakers who have timely
Very
signed
well,
up for the
thank you,
public
Mr.
comment
Clerk.
period.
That completes our public comments at this time. Madam Clerk, communications is what's next.
The following communications from the Honorable Brandon Johnson, Mayor, who was filed in my office on October 25th, 2024 at 3:57 p.m. Dear Clerk Valencia, please be advised at the City Council meeting of October 30th, 2024, during that portion of the meeting devoted to a communications from the Mayor, see Rule 3, I will be delivering the Mayor's budget address for the City of Chicago budget for 2025. Please include this letter to your agenda for that portion of the above referenced City Council meeting. Very truly yours, Brandon Johnson, Mayor.
Well, very well. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We're grateful that our city treasurer has also joined us. Let's please give a nice round of applause for our clerk as well as our treasurer. The chair recognizes Alderman Bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, before you give your remarks on the budget, I would like to ask, are budget books ready at the proceeding of this meeting?
That is correct.
So they will be available.
Budget books will be made available.
201A?
All the room numbers around here. Just give me a second. We'll confirm that location for you.
Okay, Mr. President, I just want to go on the record, as well as a lot of my colleagues, that the budget address was postponed over 2 weeks, and we have a $1 billion deficit, and if books are not readily available, I move that we push budget briefings back to November 13th.
I don't believe that move, or that, is that a move?
Yes,
What's
it is.
a move?
That is a motion to move if books are not readily available.
I just want to make sure that we're talking about a motion and not a move. We'll make sure that the budget, as being presented today, that will be made available as it always has been. Very well.
Are ready.
I've just said
today
that the budget book, as well as electronically, all of it will be made available today. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. How's everybody doing today? All right, that's good. It's a little parliamentary dynamics. Right? And then there's more. The chair recognizes Alder Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make sure that I'm recorded as present. Thank you.
There are a number of individuals that have walked in after attendance is taken. We'll make sure that Gutierrez is added. Were there other alders? I believe Alder Robinson, was he recorded? I believe Alderman Hopkins is now here. Alderwoman Clay is here. Alderwoman Coleman is here. I know that Alderwoman Silverstein has been in the room, though she is not currently present. I believe that everything is pristine and in order, like the Johnson's household was on Saturday mornings. To the Vice Mayor Burnett, Chairwoman Dow, Chairman Irvin, Chairwoman Harris, to the President Pro Tem Nugent, to members of the City Council, and to all of the residents that have assembled today, good morning. When I stood up here last year, we had just closed a $538 million budget gap. We faced that challenge head on and focused on the closing of that gap while also investing in people of this amazing city. We made tremendous strides and critical investments in youth employment and housing, mental health, and community safety. We also forecasted, though, that in 2025 we would face a deficit of this magnitude, $986 million. The choices we made to present a balanced budget have certainly been sobering. And as a city, we are constrained by our legacy pensions and our debt costs. These past debt challenges our budget and our ability to invest in the great city that we all love. Debts that were created by repeated decisions to kick the can down the road when tough choices presented themselves. Those so-called tough choices at the time concluded closing 50 of our public schools. 14 of our mental health clinics were shuttered in order to cut costs. The Department of the Environment was eradicated to cut costs. I was in North Lawndale when schools were being shut down and the families in that community desperately cried for another pathway forward. I was in Bronzeville. I was in Roseland, in my own community in Austin, when these services were cut and people begged this body to do right by them. The parking meters sold. Chicago Skyway sold off to balance the budgets. Our pension funds were ignored and the city did not fulfill its obligations to working people. And the city deferred paying principal on its debt service year after year after year after year. These short-sighted decisions have had serious long-term consequences. Let me give you an example of one of them. 10 years ago, our city pensions were projected to go bankrupt in this decade. From 2004 to 2014, the city did not do enough. They deposited an average of $442 million each year to the pension funds, which was less than half than what was required. Because of that, we are now obligated to contribute $2.7 billion to the city's 4 pension funds, and we will contribute an additional $2.9 billion in the 2025 budget. When I ran for office, I promised to tell people the truth and that I would not support programs that we did not have funds for. And I'm going to stick to that promise. We will pay the city's past and present bills, and we will not leave a legacy of unpaid bills to the next generation, so that by the time my daughter is 18 years old and she gets to finally vote for me in the next 8 years, I don't want her to go to that polling booth and say, "Dad, how come you didn't do something today to fix the problem so she doesn't inherit the crisis?" In spite of the past mistakes, our administration, though, we've been able to fulfill the promises that I made to Chicago and deliver for the people of Chicago, and we did it in a fiscally responsible way. It turns out that you can invest in people. It turns out that you can invest into the core values of what makes us this incredible city and do it eloquently and do it responsibly. We invested in our city's future by increasing the number of young people hired through the One Summer Chicago program. We hired a total of almost 28,000 young people, which is nearly an 8,000 increase since I've been sworn in. And through One Summer Chicago, we were able to make sure that young people could gain professional experience and real paying jobs and a vision for their future. Here's one specific example, though, that I'm very proud of. The General Labor Training Program. we work with the City Department of Human Resources and the Department of Streets and Sanitation to partner with Chicago Public Schools and Local 1001 to develop and implement what we call a general labor training program. This 12-week on-the-job training opportunity provided 70 CPS graduating students with job skills. Participants achieved union bidder rights during the program, and upon successful completion, they were offered the opportunity to bid on placement for laborer vacancies. 55 of the 70 general laborer trainees were hired for full time, and they are working for the city of Chicago today. In fact, we have one of our newest city employees that's here today. Jakia Brown is here with us today. Jakia was hired directly from the trainee program and is an example of how job opportunity can change the career trajectory of our city's young people. And under my leadership, Chicago has become the most pro-worker city in America. This year, we enacted the most expansive paid leave statute for a major city. The impact of this legislation will be felt by over 1 million workers, effectively doubling the amount of paid leave available. Workers now have significantly more time to spend with their families, personal health needs, and of course, to care for their loved ones. Additionally, we enacted the One Fair Wage Ordinance with the support of a coalition of partners, including community advocates from the One Fair Wage Coalition and Women Employed. Together, we eliminated the sub-minimum wage for over 60,000 tip workers. This reform boosts the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of Chicagoans, primarily women of color, and supports small businesses so that it encouraged people to get back into the restaurant and hospitality industries. And under my leadership, we became a safer city. We invested in programs and strategies that are proven to foster safe communities, and the results speak for themselves. Since I've been in office, we have seen a decrease in homicides, shootings, robberies, vehicular hijackings, criminal sexual assaults. Look, it's a lot of work to be done, but we are moving in the right direction. I promised that during my first term that I would promote 200 new detectives to the Chicago Police Department. Well, we have achieved that. And we did it without increasing the number of sworn officers. And today I'm proud that by the end of the year, that goal will be fully realized. And promoting these brave men and women to be detectives has already begun to pay dividends. Right now, we have a homicide clearance rate of nearly 54%. And again, while we have more work to do, you all, it is the highest since 2015. So I do want to thank our Superintendent Snelling and the brave women and men of the Chicago Police Department for facilitating hard work to make sure that this city continues to make progress. I also want to recognize our Mayor's Office of Community Safety, their impressive efforts to holistically address the root causes of violence with the common goal of keeping our city safe. In addition, thank you. In addition to keeping Chicago safe, we delivered on a long sought after promise to expand our mental health system. We are reopening a public mental health clinic in Roseland. We are layering mental health services into the Lower West Side CDPH clinic in Pilsen, and we have integrated. And right on the west side of Chicago, we've integrated mental health services at Legler Library. It's the full force of government, you all. It's the vision for a better, stronger, safer Chicago. We have made the monumental transition, though, from a co-responder police response to a full public health response for 911 calls regarding mental health crises. Now, this work would not have been possible without the strong partnership and the leadership of my friend and ally and my sister, Alderwoman Rodriguez Sanchez. You know, this mental health system expansion ordinance, it was designed and was created with a working group, and it allowed us to make these new investments. But for me, this work to expand mental health access it is personal. I often talk about my brother Leon, who is my hero. He struggled with mental illness and died addicted and unhoused. And I believe that a real commitment to mental health and treating people rather than criminalizing these individuals who are experiencing trauma, that allows for lives to be extended on this earth. I'm proud of the vital work of our care team that they have done, responding to families and individuals in need, and we get them the help that they deserve. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge Tiffany Patton Burnside, the Senior Director of Crisis Services. You know, Tiffany has been such an integral part of the care leadership team and a passionate advocate for her team. And this program, from the start, Tiffany has shepherded. And so thank you, Tiffany, and to your entire team. The care team has addressed over 1,500 cases and counting. Under my leadership, we supported our residents in their time of need. You know, after the West Side was hit with an intense flood, my administration, through the Chicago Department of Housing, we secured an additional $5 million for flood assistance repair program. This program aims to support up to 200 homeowners whose homes were damaged significantly during the torrential rains in July of 2023. And I'm proud to say that we are still moving full steam ahead with these repairs. This week, Faye Cobbins, a proud resident of the Best Side, the West Side of Chicago, will have work done in her house. And in the past year, we have made it clear to Chicago that we are open for business, you all. We have worked hand in hand with government agencies, the state, the county, World Business Chicago, and the business community to usher in more than $20 billion of new investments in the city of Chicago. And this includes Psi Quantum, which will anchor the Illinois Quantum and Microelectronics Park, which is that whole campus that will transform the southeast side of Chicago. That place has been left vacant for the last 30-something years. And under my administration, we finally delivered something for the southeast side of Chicago. The LaSalle Street investments that will convert 4 underutilized offices into mixed-use buildings and create more than 1,000 new apartments, affordable homes downtown. We broke ground in Google's new Chicago headquarters at the Thompson Center. We celebrated the 1-year anniversary since the opening of the Temporary Bally's temporary casino site, which currently employs over 450 residents, and we began construction on that $1.7 billion permanent casino project. We also celebrated renovations to the J.P. Morgan Chase building, O'Hare's global expansion, and countless other projects. These investments demonstrate the deep confidence that business has in Chicago and in my administration. This past year, we demonstrated what it means to be a global city. This summer, we showed the world why Chicago is genuinely the greatest freaking city in the world when we hosted the best Democratic National Convention, brought over $370 million to this city. Even the press said if it goes well, it won't be because of him, but if it goes bad, it will be because of him. Well, guess what? It went well. The city of Chicago made a promise to the world that we would show up for the world. So I'm here to say, yes, sometimes even the press gets it wrong. But in addition to an historic, not all the time, be easy. In addition to an historic DNC, we hosted major sporting events and countless music events and festivals, and we generated more than $800 million in the economic impact of our city. And after a successful summer, I got a chance to travel to London to continue to strengthen Chicago's global presence and drive new opportunities for investments and economic growth and international collaboration. this trip resulted in another pro-Chicago decision being made, where Perks, a company that will provide access to affordable health care services to workers at not-for-profits and micro-businesses, they have chosen to locate its first U.S. headquarters right here in Chicago. And in partnership with Choose Chicago, the MPEA, we've seen Chicago solidify its status as the best city in the U.S. for conventions, with 82 total meetings at the McCormick Place so far this year, with more than 1 million attendees, creating numerous job opportunities and having long-lasting impact on the vitality of this city. And just last month, we hosted the International Manufacturing Technology Show, one of the largest trade shows in the world, at the McCormick Place, attracting nearly 90,000 attendees. This year, we passed the Cut the Tape initiative to fast-track commercial and residential development in Chicago, to get more shovels in the ground so that we can get more cranes in the sky. Because for too long, we've heard that it is too difficult to build in Chicago. We have heard that the city needs to get out of its own way and reduce the hurdles that developers and contractors face when they're trying to develop housing and commercial properties. And that is why last year, I signed that executive order, requiring 14 city departments to evaluate their development process and propose solutions that will remove the bottleneck and to accelerate review and approval timelines. And we're seeing the impact of this already. Developments are moving faster and the pipeline is growing. For example, the time that it takes for a project to get to the Plan Commission is down 40%, from 131 days to 79 days. And I want to thank the broad coalition of development leaders that work with my team to contribute to this plan. The many developers, the architects, contractors, attorneys, lenders, advocates, and so many more. We kicked off this historic investment in our neighborhoods with our people and for our people when we passed the $1.25 billion housing and economic development bond, the largest economic development bond and investment for housing and economic development in the history of Chicago. This administration continues to make history for the people of this city. And this bond is a game changer for our city. $625 million. $625 million going directly into small businesses, community assets that are ultimately the anchor of the neighborhoods across this city. We've already used this bond to invest in local businesses like the Austin Hope Center. This facility will be anchored by Lurie Children's Clinic. The building will also be occupied by Thresholds, who will provide behavioral health care to people experiencing serious mental illness, people who are experiencing homelessness and living on the streets on the West Side. And by investing in spaces like the Austin Hope Center, my administration seeks to continue to close gaps currently that exist in our healthcare system, and particularly neighborhoods like Austin. The West Side will never be forgotten again, ever. In addition to investing in our business development and our commercial real estate, the other $625 million will go towards building more affordable homes. I'm so tired of black people being kicked out of this city. The Negro Removal Act has been decades of negligence for our people. We're going to keep building and preserving and repairing homes across this city. That is what the people voted for. And that's what the people deserve, and that's what they're going to get in this budget. That's why we turned over vacant land so that developers can build affordable homes in the 20th Ward, in the 9th Ward, in the 24th Ward. And additionally, my administration utilized the once-in-a-lifetime American Rescue Plan Act, where we relaunched the city's ARPA spending plan in June of this year after careful evaluation of each initiative. And I'm proud to say that we've doubled the emergency fund for gender-based violence survivors to $10 million, providing immediate, unrestricted cash assistance for those seeking safety and stability. Thank you, Stephanie Coleman. Thank you, Jeanette Taylor. Thank you, Maria Hatton, for seeing black women. With ARPA, we also provided vital maternal health care through the expansion of the CDPH's Family Connections program. We also are supporting artists and arts organizations in need because the pandemic wreaked havoc on the art industry, and we're providing much needed grant assistance to small businesses and not-for-profits to help sustain their workforce and to build up their capacity post-pandemic. And every investment that we made last year, from youth employment, workforce development, mental health, community safety, housing and homelessness, demonstrates our commitment to investing in people. And I want it to be very clear. I have to be clear. In this year's budget, we are going to build on the progress that we have made. Even in a difficult budget year, we will not stop investing in our city. The people who make the city thrive, we will continue to invest in them. And over the course of the past year, my community engagement team worked to actively engage residents during this budget process, and we held 4 public roundtables, one exclusively for young people across the city. We need to hear directly from people so that we can make sure that their priorities are in this budget. And we listen to the needs of the community, and we use the robust community engagement process to guide us when we develop this budget, just as we did in 2024. And in this year's budget, we will continue to invest in people. We will continue to invest in communities and empower everyone to be able to live up to their greatest potential. And that is why in this investment, in this budget, a $52 million investment will again be prioritized for our young people. We're going to increase the number of paid summer jobs for our city's youth program by additional 2,000 positions, preparing our young people for the workforce tomorrow. And in collaboration with Alderwoman Fuentes, we will build upon the foundation set this year by expanding the number of peacekeeper positions within the One Summer Chicago, while also enhancing the My Shy, My Future website and the mobile application to incorporate the tools and resources of the Peace Book. The Peace Book program is not only about hiring our young people, but it's about enabling them to directly contribute to the safety of our city. I want to thank Alderwoman Fuentes and DFSS Commissioner Brandy Kanazi for their tireless effort, the team work that they put in to make sure that components of the Peace Book become a reality. And in fact, the 2025 budget, the work of Alderwoman Fuentes and the work of Commissioner Kanazi will make sure that the components of the Peace Book finally make it in its totality in the 2025 budget. In addition, to the One Summer Chicago, city departments will once again host student interns and trainees, creating a pathway for our young people to find careers in public service. And through an investment of $40 million in this budget, we will see our capacity to care for the unhoused in the city expand by more than doubling the number of beds within the city's shelter network from 3,000 to 6,800 beds. Through our partnership with the state of Illinois, our vision for a one-shelter system where anyone that needs help can find assistance will begin to take shape. With an investment of $30 million, we will continue to move households from temporary homeless shelters or unsheltered locations into stable housing through the city's rapid rehousing program and accelerating our moving events. Let me say this other note about this one shelter system. When our city was under attack by the governor of Texas, intentionally targeting our city, this city rose above the pettiness of nasty politics. Not only did we show up for new arrivals, we created a system that will benefit all of Chicago. When 70% of Chicagoans who are unhoused are Black, we need to ensure that we create systems of care to respond to the people who need the help the most. Despite what Buddy did at the border, it did not stop us from moving forward. That's the strength of this city. That's the power of a welcoming city. That's the power of an administration that understands that we are not going to allow people to separate and to divide us. We're going to come out stronger, and we have, with a single shelter system that works for everyone. But we know that sheltering the unhoused is not enough. We have to promote conditions for making housing more affordable, and we need new financing tools to meet the scale of the problem. And in 2025, my administration is committed to the launch of the Green Social Housing, an innovative and proven form of affordable mixed income housing development that does not rely on federal subsidies. Not only does this model offer a way to grow the pie, it increases the number of affordable homes that the city can create without relying upon state and federal subsidies. And because it is structured like a revolving loan program, by recycling people every few years, it allows for new projects to go online. And this program will be funded with $135 million from the Housing and Economic Development Bond, making it the largest social housing revolving loan fund in the entire country. Chicago, we're doing it again. Through this program, we aim to develop over 600 affordable and sustainable rental units for Chicagoans. We can do it over the next 5 years. Additionally, in the years ahead, we will continue to advance the once-in-a-generation modernization project known as O'Hare 21, starting with the construction of Satellite Concourse 1 at 19-gate expansion is already underway. This will create over 3,800 construction jobs and numerous contracting opportunities for diverse firms of all sizes. This administration will continue to work to strengthen the mental health network of those in this city. And by building upon reopening the 3 mental health clinics in 2025, we will continue to build capacity with those clinics, as well as hiring behavioral health telecommunicators within our Office of Emergency Management and Communications to ensure that calls are triaged appropriately with care dedicated to those who are in need. With over $100 million in investments in community violence prevention in 2025, we will continue our work, you all, to provide direct investments to communities that are being plagued by violence. The Mayor's Office of Community Safety awarded several key community organizations with grants that are ultimately leading efforts to decrease violence and increase investments in the areas of these sections of the city that need it the most. And Teamwork Inglewood will lead our efforts in Inglewood. The historic Westside NAACP will lead the efforts in Austin, and Beyond the Ball in Little Village will work hand in hand with my administration to make place-based and people-based investments through the People's Plan for Community Safety. In addition, under the direction of our new Director of Reentry, Joseph Mapp, the Office of Reentry will lead this administration's efforts to reintegrate those who are returning home from incarceration so that they can experience support and they can actually have some dignity. "2025 will see over $5 million awarded to community-based organizations who are on the front line doing this work. And this year, we saw the reestablishment of the city's Department of the Environment. You know, we cannot afford to have cuts to key areas of our government that would put our planet in jeopardy. And despite the spending the bulk of this year staffing up the department under the leadership of our Chief Sustainability Officer, Angela Tovar. She achieved so much. That's right, give it up for Angela Tovar. So beginning in January, the city will celebrate a major milestone by transitioning its operations to 100% renewable electricity, thanks to a contract with Constellation Energy to power all city-owned buildings, streetlights, Midway and O'Hare airports, Jardine, and all of the other 400-plus city facilities. And we are not resting just simply on these achievements alone. Today, I'm happy to announce that through the partnership with the Civic Consulting Alliance, in 2025, we will further deliver on our plan to reconstitute the Department of the Environment through the delivery of a transition plan, laying out the steps to shift from more regulatory authority under the Chief Sustainability Officer so that we can take on our full responsibility to combat global climate change while healing the communities that have been burdened by environmental justice. 20% of the world's fresh water is in our front yard, you all. Global population shift will continue to happen, whether it's through policies or whether it's through climate change. The city of Chicago can hold another 1 million people in it. We got to return people who have been forced out, and we got to make sure we open our arms for those who will seek refuge here. And we are a global city with world-class attractions and festivals attended by people from around the world. You know, the budget invests $3 million additional funding dollars to enhance the cultural and special events hosted by our Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, with an increase of $1 million to our Arts Grants Program and DCASE's operational budget. Over $9 million in funding will go towards supporting artists and cultural organizations to foster creative initiatives and to contribute to the artistic and cultural vitality this city is known for, you all. We have accomplished so much this year. The investments that we have made it's a down payment of implementing the values I was elected to uphold. And because we cannot talk about making lasting change in our city without investing in young people, we can't talk about long transformational change in our city without talking about housing and mental health and community safety. These are the investments that will change this city. When I ran for mayor, I said the city's fiscal position was much worse than what was being forecast. And within months of taking office, our budget team, led by Annette Guzman, issued a revised forecast that, in fact, predicted that we would face a budget gap close to more than $1 billion, or at least $1 billion. And we are facing that challenge head on. We will continue to invest in our priorities so that we can build the future that we all want for a better, stronger, safer Chicago. We will not neglect our long-term obligations. We will pay our debt and our pensions. And we will continue to embrace business and economic development, but we have to work with less resources right now. But we really have to raise more revenue. Let me pause for a moment to be very clear. I stand here today before you with the absolute willingness to invest in Chicagoans and the willingness to make hard decisions so that we can be fiscally responsible, to balance a budget. And we can do that. We can do that. We can hold the truth of investment and being responsible. They can exist. Meeting our obligations today so that we have the resources for the future, so that we can continue to invest in our people, that's the smart approach. The city has, for far too many administrations, have governed with this veneer of fiscal responsibility, when in fact they weren't. But this is not our path today. When we released our budget forecast this year, we were faced with one of the largest budget gaps in the city. Anticipating the depth of our fiscal challenge, my financial team began working on ways to lower the cost through budgetary efficiencies while also identifying ways to increase our revenues. And therefore, we made very smart, timely adjustments to our expenditures. My budget team asked every department to cut their budget by 3%. Not only did our departments meet that challenge, but many of them went beyond. Because they understand that for Chicago, we can provide a more efficient government while still meeting the needs of our residents. And City Council, you all also stepped up, thank you, cutting your budgets by 3%, and of course the mayor's office. We had partners with our city clerk and our city treasurer. We also cut vacancies where they weren't mission critical. What does cutting vacancies mean to Chicagoans, though? It means that positions that are empty today because someone retired or moved to a different job will not be filled. It means that jobs we have planned to fill will be eliminated. It means that the city's workforce will have to operate more effectively, and we will have to have more lean services face this challenge. Any large organization has waste, and the city of Chicago is no exception. Our departments drill down to determine where there's waste or overlap. We asked ourselves, what can be done in a better way? For these measures alone, we saved $300 million. To put that into perspective, those savings on their own represent an amount larger than the general fund budget of the entire city of Rockford. And these savings are on top of the $200 million already achieved in the 2024 budget through very prudent fiscal practices that were implemented by my budget team. And while some have called for extreme austerity measures, such as mass layoffs to address our fiscal gap. These are not solutions that align with our values. As a city, it is our responsibility to provide services to our residents, to business community, and to countless visitors who come here. Mass layoffs would hamper our ability to drive economic development and protect our most vulnerable. The people who provide and rely upon health care. I want to take a moment to spell out to everyone what Chicago would look like if we only use cuts to our city's workforce to solve the budget gap. We would need to reduce our workforce by another 4,000 positions, equating to a 17% reduction in the city's workforce. We would have to reduce our police force by 2,500 personnel, or just under 20%. We would be forced to reduce our fire department by over 600 personnel, dramatically lowering our ability to respond to fires and provide life-saving medical care. Our streets would see garbage collection and recycling and rat abatement services and tree trimming completely limited and less frequent, as our sanitation department will be reduced by 150 additional positions, and the maintenance and repair of our physical assets would be further hampered, as our facilities team would see an over 200 personnel cut. These cuts threaten to make our neighborhoods, our residents, and our workers less safe. I want to be clear, we will not have layoffs in this budget, and we will still raise more revenue to ensure that we can keep up with our investments. So here's what we did. We took a good look at our TIF funds. My administration has spent the last year examining every TIF district and worked with our departments to remove projects that are no longer viable while still reserving funding for projects that will benefit our overall city. In doing so, we have been able to ensure that every single dollar not used for projects will be returned to all of the taxing bodies throughout the entire county. Here's what this exercise allows for us to do. Our TIF surplus will be $570 million, with $131 million being surplus to the city, over $300 million surplus to Chicago Public Schools, record amounts to other taxing bodies, including the Park District, city colleges, Chicago Public Libraries, Cook County, and the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. Here's why that's important for our community colleges. Since I've been in office, 12% increase in enrollment in our city colleges. The number one subgroup of individuals who are enrolling in our city colleges are young black men. So the billions of dollars of investments that are coming, we're creating the workforce that can benefit from those investments. In total, this budget includes over $400 million in additional revenue, including enhancements to our existing revenue streams. And through the leadership of the city's corporation council, we are cracking down on these bad actors and corporations that owe the city money, pursuing another $30 million through the efforts of our law department. In terms of revenue enhancements, my administration worked diligently to find these inefficient areas in our tax and licensing rates that will raise revenue for the city without overburdening Chicagoans, such as removing the retail concession portion of the bag tax to ensure that the full 7 cents goes towards the city revenue. In other words, your mayor is making sure we get all of our money. And here's what I've said from the start. I'm committed to protecting security, the retirement security, and upholding our pension obligations. In this budget, we are adhering to our policy to make a contribution that ensures our unfunded liabilities will not grow further. This fiscally prudent policy is projected to save the city almost $3 billion in the future pension contributions, so that we can ensure that our children are not saddled with these long deferred costs, and our workers can be confident that pensions that they spent their careers earning will be there at retirement. Our city workers have their pension contributions deducted from every paycheck, and they never miss or defer a deposit in that system. We must uphold our obligations as well. And when we invest in our retirees and our workers, it keeps our communities vibrant and alive. In Austin, the neighborhood where my wife and I are raising our family, the local economy would collapse if we did not have pensioners holding up our zip code. And that is why, to ensure that we don't lay people off, to ensure that we hold our obligations, to make sure that we continue to make sure that we invest in housing and youth employment and mental health and safety. That is why this budget currently includes a property tax increase of $300 million to fund and keep our commitment to fund not just our pension contributions, but to fund the future of our city. This is tough. It is. It is something that I grappled with for weeks and weeks. We didn't make this decision lightly. I directed my budget team to look at all the options at closing this budget gap. And when it came down to either mass layoffs, curbing vital city services, or an increase in property taxes, I would certainly much rather tax the rich. But I did have to make the choice to increase our property taxes. And I understand that today I'm asking families to lean in yet again and do a little bit more in order to make sure that their neighbors are not laid off and to make sure that we don't have to cut vital city services. I know that across the city, working families make tough decisions every day. God knows that I do. And whether it's the cost of childcare, paying utilities, certainly I know the challenge of paying utilities. And even going grocery shopping and buying food for our families, I know adding to those tough choices is not easy. But this was the best option that I have at this time. It allows us to move forward in a sustainable way. This is the start of a multi-year process that will finally get Chicago's finances back on track. It is important to realize that one of the reasons why we have made some of these decisions is because our ability to raise revenue that we ultimately need to fund the essential mission of city government, it is limited. The city of Chicago cannot do this alone. The largest revenue sources are either controlled or limited at the state level. Whether it's personal income tax or corporate income tax, sales tax policies, these are controlled by the state. We need to continue to work with the state and the county in a truly collaborative manner to make our revenue streams more equitable. And I have no doubt that with the strong partnership of the state and the county, that we can do that together. Our North Star is to make the city's taxes more equitable. This goal is shared by many, if not most of the people in this room, as well as the majority of city residents. You know, we are not the first to take up this fight. When Governor Pritzker led the good and just effort to create a graduated income tax in Illinois, the federal government and most states have graduated income tax because it is the more fair and equitable method. Higher income earners who have more ability to pay should do and pay more, and lower income earners should have to pay less. It's very simple. The city of Chicago voters, we said yes to that. Our black and brown residents resoundingly voted in the affirmative for that graduated income tax. But unfortunately, a handful of ultra-rich corporate interests lobbied against the referendum, and it was defeated. This year, Chicago residents voted on Bring Chicago Home, which would have provided much-needed funds to support programming and operations to reduce homelessness in the city. The referendum would have authorized an increase to the transfer tax with properties over $1 million when they're being sold. The referendum even included an inflator so that the $1 million threshold will grow over time, because we did not want the homes of just average working people in Chicago to eventually be subject to the tax just because of inflation. And once again, the efforts of the interests of the ultra-rich and corporations funded a smear campaign which sowed fear and misunderstanding to the electorate. If that referendum had passed, the city would have collected an average of $100 million more in revenues to fund the critical needs of our unhoused residents. Do you know that the number of beds that we actually need to really transform our single shelter system, the number of beds that we need, the amount that prevented us from meeting that number was the exact amount of money we would have raised through Bring Chicago Home. And lastly, we did discuss extensively in the 2025 budget forecast Chicago's revenues from the personal property revenue tax dropped precipitously. this year due to the expiration in a state law that now allows for corporations to claim unlimited losses against their positive income gains, resulting in a decline of over $150 million since 2023. So yet again, the interests of corporations continue to get favored over working people. And this budget proposal reflects the reality of our fiscal constraints. We will continue, of course, though, the work with our partners, all of them, our labor partners, business partners, city council members, and other stakeholders to tackle this challenge and to make sure that we have distributed taxes so that the burden is not on working people, and we can make sure that the entities that can do more, that they pay their fair share. So I do, additional revenue ideas that allow us to make our obligations and make critical investments and to protect our residents. My administration takes seriously our duty to make sure our revenue collection is equitable and balanced as possible. And that is why we passed an ordinance to greatly expand debt relief programs. This year, we permanently codified the city's Clear Path Relief Program and Administrative Debt Relief Program to ensure pathway for relief from fee and fine debt for those individuals who are least able to shoulder it. It is why under my administration we have expanded the utility billing relief program to 3 flats to further live out the goals of the program and provide much needed relief to qualified homeowners. And that is why through our partnership with Alderman LaSpada and Alderman Villegas, we will be implementing the Water Leak Relief Pilot Program to provide substantial financial relief to residents facing unexpected water bills due to these negligible underground water leaks. And we aren't stopping there. Next year, we will be instituting another parking ticket amnesty program, the 2025 amnesty, which my administration worked on with Chairwoman Dow and Vice Mayor Burnett to develop, will allow residents to get clean of their city parking debt penalties while repaying the principal that they owe. With this proposed budget, we are balanced, but we're not just balanced. We are focused on delivering to the people of Chicago. We are making sure that we are providing working people of the city with support and services and opportunities that they need and that they deserve. We are building a government that truly works for the people, because no longer will Chicago turn its back on those who are struggling with mental health issues. Instead, the city will lend a helping hand to them. No longer will the city of Chicago be dismissive about our young people and the children who are the future of this city. Instead, we are going to give them real jobs with a W-2 so that they can see opportunity and achieve success. No longer will Chicago's neighborhoods be forgotten. We are going to make sure that residents are not only safe, that crime is ultimately solved. We are going to make sure that our neighborhoods flourish with more and more investments. No longer can Chicago, and no longer will Chicago, be a city where folks cannot afford a home. We are going to build, we are going to build, we are going to build, and make sure that there is affordable housing for every single family who needs it. No more disinvestments, no more selling off our public assets. I am saying no to those bad habits and yes to the future of this city. We are moving full steam ahead. We are taking ownership of years of poor decisions that have left everyday Chicagoans behind and charting a new pathway forward that actually invests in our people. We are upholding our promise to the people of Chicago to move forward, to move together, to move forward with a brighter future. The potential for Chicago is still endless, and I'm proud to stand before you today and say that we are not slowing down. We will not be complacent. We will not turn our backs on the people of the greatest freaking city in the world. There is only one direction we're going, and that is full steam ahead. Now look, it's going to take all of us to tackle these challenges. The stuff that we've already done because we've done it together. We've already changed the course of this city. This budget was made possible by the countless city workers and leaders and residents who informed this budget, guided us through these very difficult decisions and supported this mission to invest in people. I want to thank our city department leaders, our commissioners, steadfastly serve our city. It greatly informed our budget process. I also want to thank this finance team. Annette Guzman is a bad black, shut your mouth. You know, there's this belief, unfortunately, in the ether that black women and that black men can't count, that we don't know how to do the fiscal stuff, even though every single decision that we are making is because of what other people did. One more time, y'all don't even have to clap. I'm just talking to my sister. Trust you. I come from a black woman. I go to bed and wake up to one, and I'm raising one. I'm always going to bet on a sister. Watch your mouth. And to our city comptroller, Chase, to the entire budget management team for their hard work. And of course, I want to thank the residents who participated in the budget engagement roundtables and the meetings, voicing your concerns and your ideas. You are reflected in this budget. You are. It is my sincere belief that progress will not and cannot be made without the people of Chicago. And it is in this spirit of collaboration that we made tremendous gains in the first year of my administration, and we set our city on a path to true equity and promising to never leave behind black and brown communities. With this budget, we set the stage for continued progress for years to come. Let us continue on this path to make our city even greater. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. God bless you all. God bless the city of Chicago. Thank you. This meeting will stand in recess for the next 10 minutes.